In this video, we're going to take a look at a green ink by Akkerman, their number 26. Now, as always, there's timestamps down below so you can skip around, but if you've got the time, I'd appreciate you checking out the entire video. Also, down in the description is a link to the brown ink playlist, so if you want to see more green inks, you can find that there. I'm an ink guy, and let's get into the first writing sample done on 90 GSM Clairfontaine. No bleeding, no ghosting, that's at the scrubby, not such a big deal. Now we have no feather, spread, halo sheen. We do get very nice shading in the stub, in the extra fine, and in the medium. The extra fine is a bit lighter than the stub, while the medium is just a little bit lighter than the stub. The extra fine took 8 seconds to dry and the medium took 15. The scrubby for both show only a tiniest bit of color variation, and we're definitely getting more in the writing than there. The smear test says you could recover if you smeared while you were writing. To have a range of experience with this ink, all of the writing samples are done with a Jinhao 159 with a 1.1 stub, a Jinhao X450 with a medium, and a Jinhao X750 with an extra fine. Then a Nimicine Fission with a broad nib is inked up, used for a day, and used to take the notes for this video. The next writing sample is done on 52 GSM Tomoe River. We have no bleeding, that's the scrubby, no big deal, but we do have some minor ghosting. We have no feather, spread, halo sheen, we have no shading, the extra fine comes in lighter than the stub, and the medium comes the same tone as the extra fine. Extra fine took 11 seconds to dry, while the medium took 24 seconds to dry. Sorry, 21 seconds to dry. I should wear my old man tools while I do this. The scrubby for both show no color variation, but they do show a little bit of halo that I do wish came through in the writing. Now, some of that halo, I said it wasn't there, but I was wrong in the stub because I put my old man tools on. We see that the number sign has completely got halo around it. The darkest area of the stub has some halo, and in fact the medium or the stub here does show some color variation, some shading. It goes from lighter to darker to lighter. Geez, I should have worn my glasses from the beginning. The smear test says you probably cannot recover if you smear while you're writing. I agree with Vita. There's a lot to learn by doing multiple chromatographies. The one on the left is done the way it's supposed to be done. A line of ink is put down, and then it's put into water for 10 to 15 seconds. And this is a very interesting one, because there's this khaki tone at the bottom that works its way up very uniformly. Then we get a nice bright green, but at the very top, on the far left side, not all the way to the left, but to the just right of that very dark green spot, you see a very nice turquoise color. Now the one on the right that's let dry for 10 minutes, that khaki tone is really formed a bond at the bottom. Most of it stays there, a little bit of it moves up. We see that green, it's much more spread out, but that turquoise color is much more noticeable at the top. But it does give you the idea that that brown tone might be a little bit resistant here. The next writing sample is done on 80 GSM Rhodia dot pad. We have no bleeding, except at the scrubby, no big deal. We have no ghosting. I am wearing my old man tools right now. We have no feather, spread, halo sheen. We do get some decent shading in the stub, some nicer shading, very gentle in and out in the extra fine, and really no shading in the medium. Now the extra fine's quite a bit lighter than the stub, and the medium's about the same tone as the stub. Extra fine took 8 seconds to dry, while medium took 14. The extra fine shows some good color variation in the scrubby. The medium shows none, which is largely what we got. And the smear test, you could recover if you smeared while you were writing. Resistance tests are done to see how this ink can be expected to perform on the page, and more importantly, how hard it may be to clean from your pen. The smear is allowed to dry for 3 days before testing it. Looking at the highlighter, there's a lot of blowout in that lowercase h. I would not use it in a note-taking situation if I needed to go back and highlight. Now, water's reactivating and lifting most of this ink. It's leaving a very light green in its place. And Pen Flush does the exact same thing that water does. Now, 1/3 bleach solution's completely removing it. The good news is, it only took water to get this out of my pen. The next writing sample is done on a paper I love to say, monokaki. No bleeding, some light ghosting. We have no feather, spread, halo sheen. We do get shading in the stub. We get it in the extra fine, not nearly as much. We get it in the medium, as dark as it is. It's still very much there. So nice all the way around. The extra fine's a lot lighter than the stub, and the medium darker than the stub, quite a bit as its general tones. The extra fine took 6 seconds to dry, while the medium took 11. The scrubby for the extra fine shows some good color variation. The medium shows none, although we did get some in the medium, and it's a bit better in the extra fine. The smear test says you could recover if you smeared while you were writing. For the inks tested, the average viscosity was 2.5, and the realm of normal was 2.1 to 2.9. Akkerman's number 26 has a viscosity of 2.84, putting it in normal. If you're interested in how the viscosity tests and all that's done, then down in the description is a link to that video. The next writing sample is done on moleskin paper. Not a paper that's known for being fountain pen friendly, and we do get a lot of very deep bleed spots into it with the extra fine. Now, that being said, the extra fine, none of it came through and touched the page underneath. You could use the back of the page. Medium, on the other hand, had a much deeper bleed in general. Now, none of this touched the page underneath, but there is no using the back of the page. There's a lot of feathering in the medium, an incredible amount of feathering, and there is a lot of feathering in the extra fine. It's just nowhere near as bad. We have no spread, no halo, no sheen, no shade. The extra fine is quite a bit lighter than the medium. It took only 2 seconds to dry. The scrubby showed no color variation, and there was none. And the smear test you could recover if you smeared while you were writing. For the inks tested, the average dry time was 17 seconds, and the realm of normal was 13 to 21 seconds. Akkerman's number 26 had an average dry time of 13 seconds, putting it right on the edge, but still normal. The last writing sample is done on 20-pound copy paper. There is a lot of significant bleed that goes on, which leads to a tremendous amount of ghosting. Now, there is no using the back of this paper because you'll destroy both sides, but none of this touched the page underneath, so you're not corrupting that one. Both of them have a significant amount of feathering. Much more in the medium than in the extra fine. They both spread, and again, much more in the medium than the extra fine. The medium just made it wind up entirely looking gross. It looks like I'm writing with a felt tip marker. We have no halo, no sheen, no shade, even though the extra fine's quite a bit lighter than the medium. The extra fine took 1 second to dry. Its scrubby showed no color variation, and it gave none, and you can't smear it, so you don't have to worry about that. Instead of finding inks that look like Akkerman's number 26, I'd prefer to find an ink that complements its color on the page. I decided to go with a red ink because I like putting red with green, and I chose Noodler's Widowmaker. If you'd prefer a different complement color, then down in the description are links to those playlists. So what do I think of Akkerman's number 26? This is a perfectly serviceable green. I have no complaints. It's good, it shades well, and it's a different kind of green. I can't put my finger on what is different, but I do like it. So what nib and pen will give the best writing experience with this ink? I really like its slightly lighter tone with a little bit more shading from a dry medium or dry broad pen. I hope you got something out of this video, and in the next video, we're going to take a look at Noodler's Cactus Fruit Eel.